It was a fateful day, August 27, 1990, when an unimaginable tragedy took place at East Troy, Wisconsin. The world was still buzzing with excitement and admiration after witnessing an electrifying concert at the Alpine Valley Festival that featured legendary performers such as Eric Clapton, Buddy Guy, Robert Gray, and the immensely talented Vaughan brothers, Jimmy and Stevie Ray. Vaughan was born on October 3, 1954 in Dallas, Texas. He started his musical journey early on, originally wanting to play the drums. However, at the age of 8, inspired by his older brother Jimmy, Stevie picked up a toy 6-string guitar and taught himself to play. His first electric guitar, a hollow-body Gibson Messenger, was a gift from Jimmy. Rumor has it that Stevie played with the wrong end of the pick, using the heavier part because of his intense attack on the guitar strings. Despite not reading sheet music, Stevie had a remarkable ear for music. By the time he had reached high school, Stevie taught himself to play the blues and refined his stage skills during performances in clubs in Deep Ellum in Dallas. In his junior year, Stevie had already made a name for himself in numerous garage bands. However, the traditional academic path didn't hold his interest, leading him to leave formal education. He and Jimmy moved to Austin, the vibrant hub of Texas' 1970s music renaissance, to fully embrace the life of musicians. While Jimmy's career took off with his band, the Fabulous Thunderbirds, Stevie, despite the better guitarist of the Vaughan brothers, insisted on playing the blues, a genre that had limited appeal during the heavy metal 70s and techno-pop 80s. To make ends meet, Stevie resorted to collecting and redeeming soda and beer bottles for income and for accommodation. His days were a blend of musical pursuits as he seamlessly transitioned in and out of different bands that secured semi-regular gigs across the Austin area. In 1975, Stevie joined forces with 5 other musicians to form Triple Threat. After a few changes in the lineup, they transformed into Double Trouble, inspired by a song from Otis Rush. Stevie took on the role of lead vocalist, and the band quickly gathered a strong fan base in Texas, extending their reach beyond the state. By 1982, Mick Jagger took notice of their musical skills, inviting them to perform at an exclusive event in New York City. Simultaneously, Double Trouble made history by being the first unsigned band to secure a spot at the Montreux Blues and Jazz Festival in Switzerland. Unfortunately, the performance didn't go smoothly, resulting in a mix of hoos and boos, leaving Stevie disappointed. But despite the mixed reception, Stevie caught the eye of David Bowie that night, and Bowie invited him to play guitar on his highly successful Let's Dance album, featuring hits like Let's Dance and China Girl. This album outsold Bowie's previous record by over 3 times, enhancing Stevie's commercial appeal and leading to a record deal with Epic Records. Double Trouble's next album, Texas Flood, left a lasting impression, securing the number 38 spot on the charts and drawing attention from rock stations nationwide. Stevie's exceptional talent earned him recognition as the Best New Talent and Best Electric Blues Guitarist in Guitar Player magazine's 1983 Reader's Poll. In the years following, albums like Couldn't Stand the Weather in 1984, Live Alive in 1985, and Soul to Soul in 1986 solidified Stevie's position as one of the best blues guitarists of his generation. After achieving gold status, these albums received numerous Grammy nominations spanning both blues and rock categories. However, amid these musical triumphs, Stevie's personal life took a dark turn. Embracing the stereotypical lifestyle of a rock and roll star, he delved into a world of alcohol and drug abuse. In 1979, Stevie faced legal consequences when he was arrested for substance use by an off-duty police officer. His downward spiral continued, and in 1986, during his European tour, Stevie collapsed, leading him to seek rehabilitation in Georgia. In the midst of personal challenges, including a divorce from his wife of 6.5 years, Stevie and Double Trouble began recording their 4th and final studio album, In Step. This album symbolized Stevie's hard-won victory over years of battling drugs and alcohol addiction. On August 26, 1990, Stevie, alongside Double Trouble and Eric Clapton, took the stage at the Alpine Valley Music Theatre located at a ski resort in East Troy, Wisconsin. The sold-out crowd of 30,000 witnessed an unforgettable performance. Following the opening set, Stevie with Double Trouble members Tommy Shannon on bass, Chris Layton on drums, and Reese Winans on keyboards delivered a memorable performance. In the later part of the set, Stevie was joined by his big brother Jimmy, igniting the venue with a rocking version of Freddie King's Going Down. The last song Stevie played with Double Trouble that night was Jimi Hendrix's classic, Voodoo Child Slide Return. By all accounts, it was Stevie's night, with his energy, presence, and skillful playing filling the Wisconsin night. At that time, a chilly premonition haunted Stevie. Just a day before, 36 days prior to his 36th birthday, he shared a disturbing dream with his band and crew members. In the nightmare, he found himself at his own funeral, surrounded by thousands of mourners. Little did anyone know, this dream held an eerie foreshadowing of the fate that awaited him. In the early hours of August 27, 1990, 4 Bell Jet Ranger helicopters awaited at a golf course near Elkhorn to transport Eric Clapton and his crew to Chicago. Shortly after midnight, Stevie boarded the 1977 Bell 206 Jet Ranger with tail number N16933, capable of carrying a pilot and 4 passengers. Initially, 3 seats were reserved for Stevie, his brother Jimmy, and Jimmy's wife Connie. However, 2 of those seats were occupied by members of Clapton's crew. Stevie, wanting to get back to Chicago to be with his girlfriend Jana, asked his brother and sister-in-law if he could take the last seat, saying, "I really need to get back." They agreed, and Stevie took their seat while Jimmy and Connie caught the next available flight in Lake Geneva. The helicopters, engines running and rotor blades turning, were lined up on the golf course near a parking lot. Departing as planned after 40 minutes after midnight, Stevie boarded the 3rd aircraft, piloted by Omniflight's Jeff Brown. Interestingly, of the 4 Omniflight pilots that night, Brown was the only one not certified to fly a helicopter in instrument conditions. This meant that he could only navigate the helicopter based on visual cues through its windows, dependent on favorable weather conditions, and that was not all. Brown had failed an instrument check ride not long before the flight, making him stand out among the pilots that evening. The Elkhorn golf course is situated in a small valley with hills that the helicopters needed to clear before turning towards their destination. The plane involved each aircraft taking off one after another at 2-minute intervals, ascending out of the valley and heading for Chicago. Despite some ground fog in the area, the night fell under Visual Meteorological Conditions (VMC). This meant the pilots wouldn't need to rely on their instruments to fly, and an instrument certification wasn't required. This meant Jeff Brown was legally qualified for the flight. While Stevie was settling into the helicopter, unbeknownst to him, it marked Jeff Brown's first flight out of the Elkhorn Valley in the dark. As they rose above the parking lot lights, Brown unexpectedly experienced temporary blindness to the outside of the cockpit. If he held an instrument rating like the other 3 Omniflight pilots, he could have swiftly transitioned to the cockpit instruments, relying on the artificial horizon and well-lit indicators to continue the climb. However, Brown didn't have an instrument rating, and he knew he just had to maintain his course for just a few seconds until the city lights emerged, guiding the way to Chicago. It was just a matter of time before he could clearly see again. But what he didn't notice is that while he was staring into the dark space above the parking lot lights, he applied subtle pressure on a kind of joystick between the pilot's legs that controls the aircraft's movements. This maneuver caused the helicopter to bank to the right, halting its ascent. Within moments, instead of clearing the hills, the helicopter collided with one, crashing into the side of a 300-foot sky slope, roughly 0.6 miles from takeoff. The passengers on board didn't even know anything was wrong until the split second before impact. All on board were killed instantly, and the bodies and debris were scattered over 200 feet, indicating a high-speed impact of around 100 miles per hour. At 7 a.m., authorities arrived at the crash site, confirming that the helicopter had hit the hillside 50 feet below its top. Eric Clapton and Jimmy Vaughan were called to the morgue to identify the bodies. Stevie had suffered severe injuries that were impossible to survive, including aorta transection, multiple skull fractures, a ruptured spleen and liver, and fractures of the right thigh bone and ribs. The investigation ruled out drugs or alcohol involvement, and all the victims had been wearing seat belts. On September 11, 1992, the NTSB attributed the helicopter crash to the pilot's decision to proceed with the flight under visual flight rules in adverse weather conditions. The report stated that the pilot's lack of planning for the flight conditions, unfamiliarity with the area, and low visibility at night caused him to become disoriented and fly directly into the side of the ski slope. The combination of foggy weather and the darkness of night made it impossible for the pilot to see and avoid the hill. The investigation concluded that the pilot failed to gain sufficient altitude to avoid the rising terrain. After Stevie Vaughan's untimely death, a profound wave of tributes and sincere grief swept across his fan base.